There's moss on the cliff. It's slippery!
You're the one who needs to be careful. Paimon can fly after all.
Here we are. There's a cavern behind this waterfall. Try not to get soaked. You might catch a cold. It's blocked off.
How about you give that adaptal energy a go, Lumine?
The rocks here seem a little loose. Be careful.
Since it's loose, let's break it apart. Maybe something good is hiding underneath.
Huh? What kind of weird logic is that?
Drop! Now this is what we call adventuring experience.
Yeah! You're amazing, Miss Lumine! There's more water in here than before. Maybe I'll have to swim in next time.
What huge claw marks and paw prints! Like some huge wild beast left them behind.
Yeah, huge, right? This is it! It's the clue I wanted to show you before. Right here!
What on Tevat is that? It's so covered in moss that Paimon can't make heads or tails of it.
Huh? There wasn't any moss the last time I came here.
No need to worry, little Mao. It's so humid here that it's no wonder there's moss growing everywhere. There must be a way to clear it away. The moss came loose!
Woohoo! Look, Lumine, look! It's a scene of ancient people attending a festival and performing a ritual. Pretty different from the festivals we have today, huh? Although the grown-ups in the city and the village all say that the Lord of Geo was the first to arrive in Chenyu Vale, I heard that the people in the picture actually got here even earlier than he did. People back then used to throw bits of magic jade into the river, and they floated along until they sank to the bottom. They saw it as a way to guarantee good weather, prevent the river from flooding, and ensure that the soil would be fertile. Based on what we previously discussed, I'm guessing that Chenyu Vale will only be fixed after we found some jade that was thrown into the river in ancient times. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Wow, you're so knowledgeable. Was your friend also the one who told you these stories?
You rule, Little Mao. That's first-class guide material right there.
Little Mao's a local, so of course he understands this place better than Paimon.
Yep, and everyone will be really blessed and live happily ever after and all that. But I prefer hearing her stories about ancient wars and battles. She told me that the warriors back then were all giants who were over 10 feet tall. The warriors of Chenyu Vale were covered in tattoos, and they had these massive jade axes that could chop a person in half in the blink of an eye. And the Lilith, led by none other than the Lord of Geo himself, were even tougher. They clad themselves in suits of armor that weighed over 1,000 pounds and fought with 100-pound spears. Apparently, everyone was at war back then, so much so that the Bishui River turned crimson red. Later on, the mountains to the south became full of ghosts from that era. Even now, those who wander the mountains might still be able to catch their singing on the wind.
Yikes! Scary stuff. Cover your ears, Mini Pie.
Who's Mini Pie? Hautemotagne's right, though. If you constantly think about this stuff, you'll turn into a villain when you're older.
There's no way grown-ups would tell us these stories. They always say we're too young to hear them, and they'll turn us rotten and stuff like that. But I'm old enough already. Hearing a story is not going to turn me into a monster. Besides, there aren't many adults still around who know these stories anyway. If my friend hadn't told me, I wouldn't even have known the stories about this picture.
Okay, fine then. Guess we'll move on.
So, the grown-ups were right to say that those ancient people threw the jade into the river from somewhere high up. But where exactly? And where did all the jade float off to?
Well, it must have sunk to the bottom, right?
It's not that simple. If it was thrown in somewhere upriver, and even if it sank to the bottom, it would still be pushed downriver by the current, let alone after so many years. Besides, I never heard talk of any ancient ritual jade being found upriver. Chenyu Vale is a small place after all. If there had been such rumors, everyone would already know about them.
You know so much! You're a future scholar material for sure.
But what if I don't want to be a scholar? They don't earn much mora, and it sounds like no fun.
Then become a traveler just like us. What could be more fun than adventuring around the world?
Seeing as we now know the site of the Rain Jade, right? What should we do next?
Why don't we go somewhere high up to take a look?
High up? The Watchtower Yilong Wharf is pretty high up.
Okay, let's head out.
All right, let's go. Look! From up here, you can clearly see how the water moves faster through those narrows, then slows down again as the river widens out. The jade must have stopped there. We should find what we're looking for there.
Wow, you're such a real whiz kid. Paimon's been wondering though, what's that massive thing in the distance?
That huge thing is the Jade Mouth, a legendary jade ring that an Adeptus threw into the water. Oh, but the river curves around there, so the current should actually speed up.
But the river gradually gets wider there.
Yeah, so the rapid flow around the bed might have resulted in things being deposited along the convex bank where it widens. So there's actually a good chance that the jade is at the bottom of the river somewhere around Jade Mouth. Of course, that's assuming that the course of the river hasn't been artificially altered. Not to mention, there's a fisherman's legend that goes something like, "Jade shall rise from sunken mouth," or something like that. Anyway, let's go over and take a look around first.
Compared to Little Mao, Paimon feels like she's completely out of her depth.
It's because my friend is amazing. She knows everything there is to know about the mountains, and she taught me loads too. That's how I've learned so much.
You are unfit for duty, Mini Pie. As the young lady, I am most disappointed.
Lumine, has the rarefied mountain air and miasma gone to your head or something? Or does the adeptal energy you use have side effects? You're behaving pretty strangely.
Whatever the case, let's go down and get on a bamboo raft.
Oh, yeah! Jade Mouth, here we come!
Look at that bamboo raft. Guess we got a boat we can take now.
Someone coming aboard? Wait, is that Little Mao? Come, come, I'll take you.
All right, boatman, take us to the Jade Mouth.
All right, Jade Mouth it is. The other two, you're tourists? Well, if you're here for sightseeing, there's not many locals who head that way.
You can say that. Mr. Boatman, are there any stories about the Jade Mouth that I haven't heard before?
Knowing you and how much you love your stories, kiddo, you must have heard them all by now.
Tell me more! Tell me more!
All right then. Well, I've heard it mentioned that the Jade Mouth was left behind by Rex Lapis when he marched through here to save the people of Chenyu Vale. Legend has it that to prevent a naval advance from downstream, the local adepti...
You're making it up as you go again, Gramps. There's no way that Leah's navy came up this river. I heard that the Jade Mouth was formed by a piece of jade left behind by a giant carp. In those days, a baddie god tried to redirect the river to drown the Lilith stationed on both of the banks in Chenyu Vale, but a giant white snake and a giant carp who were her subordinates disobeyed her orders. The giant white snake held up the baddie god, while the giant carp, she threw the jade she wore here. The jades pinned the river down, and ever since, we've had no more floods. And everyone can live peaceful lives on both sides of the river.
You might understand a lot, kiddo, but you haven't seen much. Take a closer look. There aren't any crops by this river. See, after it was pinned down by the Jades, it's true that the river hasn't flooded, but that's also meant it hasn't been able to provide irrigation for crops. So what was once a wide, gently flowing river is today a narrow, rapid-flowing torrent instead. Such a river leaves no sustenance for the earth on its banks. And, of course, that also means no people living peaceful lives on both its sides.
Paimon gets it now. But did you just say that the Adepti were resisting the Lord of Geo, Little Mao?
That's how it was all that time ago. Some people believe that the first lord of all Lea was Rex Lapis. But in Chenyu Vale, we believe that before he came, there were other gods and adepti who protected our ancestors. I've heard Grandpa Lou say that the tea ceremony is actually for the Carp Adeptus who planted our first tea tree.
Oh, but aren't these adepti meant to be the baddies? They were serving under a baddie god after all.
In some stories, they're the baddies, while in others, they're the goodies. But it was all such a long, long time ago. Even the grown-ups don't remember much, so they always try to bluff me.
Talking about that friend of yours again. How can such supernatural beings be held to our simple codes of right and wrong? As far as we're concerned, all the forces that have ever blessed and protected this land deserve our offerings.
There you go again!
All right then, time to get off. We're here.
Thanks, Gramps!
As the river breeze blows, you hitch a ride on the rocking bamboo raft, and you slowly reach the Jade Mouth.
Well, here's the Jade Mouth. But how are we gonna find all that jade underwater?
So that's how it is. The spring's cries ripples through the vales. The shrines depart from northeast shores. The heights and shallows in the southwest hide. Sun and earth from each other divide. The eternal whirlpool that never turns. The beautiful jade concealed within.
What's that little mouse singing about? It sounds pretty complicated.
It's one of our local folk songs. I heard an old granny singing as she was gathering herbs. It means if you look out from the center of the river to the banks on either side, you'll see two stone shrines hidden to the northeast and the southwest. These shrines keep the mighty whirlpool in the center suppressed.
Paimon understood the last bit. So the jade is all hidden beneath the whirlpool?
Yup, sounds like we're going treasure hunting. Hooray!
But the area between the northeast and southwest is so huge. After all, in a broad sense, the northeast and southwest of Jade Mouth can include pretty much the whole world.
You're always thinking outside the box, Miss Paimon. But there's no need to worry. I already have an idea where the shrines will be. Because, well, my friend told me. Come on, let's roll!
Hold up for a second. Does anyone else think that a giant maelstrom suddenly appearing here might not be too great?
Oh yeah! Won't that mean the boats will no longer be able to sail in and out of Yulong Wharf?
Oh, don't worry about that. My friend told me that once we've done what we need to beneath, the whirlpool will disappear completely. Otherwise, how would all the old boatmen carry on making a living?
Wow! So it's not just a smart whirlpool, but a considerate one to boot. Let's get going then!
Shake!
Becomes the hunted.
Crumble apart! Starfall!
Done.
There's no end to this.
Drop! Shake! Starfall!
Ow! Who dares disturb the tranquility of this place? Turn over all your possessions to quench the fury of the Adeptus!
treasure hoarders? Where's all this adept fearing talk coming from?
Have a little taste.
Crumble apart!
Picked that tingle and never just freeze.
Star ball!
Serve fury.
Shake!
How's this? That tingle. I got careless. Freeze. That tingle. That tingle.
Drop!
Picked the wrong test object.
Should
That tingle.
We've been made! These mugs are regular heat pack and Brunos, just out to make a clean sneak.
Subject.
Wow, she's really right about you. You're pretty out of the ordinary.
How about we try using adeptal energy, Lumine? That settles it.
Wow, you're amazing! Even my friend couldn't do anything about the shrines.
You got that right.
Huh. We haven't seen the whirlpool from the song yet.
What should we do next?
How about giving that adeptal energy of yours a try, Lumine? Look! The whirlpool's appeared, just like the song said! Wow! And just like the legend says, a golden carp!
Huh. So it's Adeptus Fujin again.
Fujin?
Lumine and Paimon, we meet again. And who might this be?
Huh? You haven't met before? This is Little Mao. He's helped us so much along the way.
No, we haven't met before. But you must be a good child, Little Mao.
Hello! And yes, that's me. Miss, are you an Adeptus? You are, aren't you?
This is Adeptus Fujin.
Thanks for all the help you've given Lumine and Paimon, Little Mao.
It really is the legendary Fujin in the flesh! I can't believe this. I've heard so many stories about you, and now I know that you're not some kind of big slippery carp, but a lady instead, like a big sister.
Big carp? Honestly, what kind of stories have you been listening to, Little Mao?
Ahem. One is indeed an Adeptus, and as such can take forms as one pleases. This particular form seemed like the most approachable one for conversing with humans. From what you've said, you have a very unique scent, Little Mao. Have you met someone in the mountains before? Someone with golden eyes and a fair complexion, perhaps?
Not exactly. Big sis Fujin, you're not talking about one of your other friends, are you? My friend from the mountains doesn't sparkle like you do, but she's also really cool. She's helped me tons and taught me loads.
So it was her, after all.
So your friend wasn't Adeptus Fujin after all, huh?
But Big Sis Fujin's my friend too now, isn't she?
Of course, little Mal. I am delighted to have made friends with you.
Way to go, little Mal. You've now met 2 Adepti. But I've met more. Whoop whoop! Go me! I win.
Huh?
Huh? What?
Don't worry about her. Anyway, does that mean Little Mouse's friend is also an Adeptus?
As for whether Little Mouse friend counts as an Adeptus or not, I'm not quite sure myself. After all, Adeptus is merely a title, and it's hard to say whether Adepti are even people. The word Adeptus is just like any other word, such as hero, villain, or idiot. No one is born an Adeptus, and no one shall remain an Adeptus forever.
That's true. So you've met that friend of Little Mouse that we're talking about, right?
Indeed, but it has been a long, long time since I last saw her. So now, I suspect that I don't know her half as well as Little Mal does. I'm not even sure if I still count as her friend.
According to what little Mal said, his friend wants to restore nature too.
I would imagine so. Anyway, I must ask you all to please take this piece of votive rain jade. I had originally hoped it might remain here, the same as it ever was. But I never expected it to grow quite so large. I used to love it so.
This rain jade that you just mentioned, did it rain down or make it rain or something?
Of course not. After the great changes in our geology, the ancestors of the people of Chenyu Vale lost their ability to communicate with the heavens, and lost the guidance of emissaries whose beauty was as pure as moonlight. Henceforth, they began to take jade which glowed as gently as the light of the moon and cast it into the river. As they did this, they would pray for good omens, for fertile land, for clement weather, and for their riverbanks to hold strong. Over time, these rituals grew in power until one day.
Big Sis Fujin, what happened next?
One day, the long war to become the gods who would reign over this world began. Afterwards, this tradition lost all its meaning. But though it was forgotten, its name is still passed down over generations. To cut a long story short, this piece of votive rain jade before us was the very last one ever to be thrown. Just as the part above the surface, when commanded by an adeptal art, can be made large enough to stop a flood, its core, too, has been swollen by uncontrolled adeptal energy. Much of its power has dissipated into the surrounding area through the spirit veins. This power may also have affected the nearby flora and fauna, attracting and even making aberrations of them. You must be careful.
What?
As far as I can tell, the adeptal energy that has dissipated nearby should be sufficient to reawaken that hibernating votive rain jade. If this is the case, we're one step closer to achieving our goal of nursing the water and soil back to health. How should I say this? Lumine and Paimon, thank you both. You're doing an amazing thing by choosing to help me, you know. And little Mal, will you help me too? Will you help out your big sis?
Of course! I want to restore nature too!
Is that so? Well, that's good. You're very smart, little Mal. You'll understand everything later. All right, then let us go our separate ways for now. Once you've retrieved the adaptal energy-filled votive rain jade, we'll meet again by a deep pool, shrouded in cloud and mist to the south.
The south? Got it. She's gone and disappeared again!
Oh well, let's just do what Big Sis Fujin said and restore this voting rain jade's power! Speaking of which, what's it gotta do with voting?
See? You're not that much brighter than Paimon.
It's votive, not voting.
Oh, right. It's so complicated.
Though, since you mentioned it, what does votive even mean? And why is it called rain jade again?
Exactly! What does it mean? Crumble apart! Ha! Yeah! Ha! Yeah! 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 Ha! Sa! Ha! Yeah! Yeah! Ha! Ha! Drop! Ha! Yeah! 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 Ha! Yeah! Ha! Yeah!
She could turn into a forest boar. Whew, that's finally over. Huh, seems like the jade's starting to move.
That's right, but according to the story, the riverbed should have lots of other votive rain jades. Why does Big Sis Fujin only want this one?
Look, it's shining. Almost as if it's resonating with the adaptal energy on you, Lumine. Why don't we try using that power, eh?
That should do it! Wow, awesome! It suddenly became small!
Yeah! Paimon didn't think it just changed size like that. Guess that's a millennial-old treasure for you. It's just like you said, little Mao. It could be as tall as the clouds, or small enough to hide amidst pool and leaf.
Yeah! Well, looks like the votive rain jade's in our hands now. You're so reliable, Lumine.
Hey! Paimon worked hard too!
Miss Paimon's amazing. So, you're gonna take us to that deep pool shrouded in cloud and mist to the south now, right? Clouds and mist. I think Chenyu Vale really does have places like that.
But where? Tell us, little guide, and Paimon will take you there.
Do you remember the place Mountain mentioned? The spot where we met? That place is super foggy, And I know of a secret cavern that leads there. Even the other locals don't know about it. It was my friend who showed me the way. And since you're my friend too, Paimon, I'll tell you all about it.
You've got an amazing friend, little Mal.
Of course. Well, you're both pretty impressive too.
Well, any friend of yours is a friend of ours too. In fact, Paimon hopes we'll meet her on the way. Shall we go? Paimon's gonna take you all to the place you mentioned, little Mao.
Take us away, Miss Paimon.
Alrighty then, let's go!
And everyone will be really blessed and live happily ever after and all that.
Oh, but aren't these Adepti meant to be the baddies? They were serving under a baddie god after all.
But I've met more. Whoop whoop! Go me! I win.
Knowing you and how much you love your stories, kiddo, you must have heard them all by now.
As the river breeze blows, you hitch a ride on the rocking bamboo raft, and you slowly reach the Jade Mouth.
Ow! Who dares disturb the tranquility of this place? Turn over all your possessions to quench the fury of the Adeptus.
After all, Adeptus is merely a title, and it's hard to say whether Adepti are even people.